Where Winds Meet by Everstone Studio coming out in 2025. Dave, I know you're excited about this game. Let's hear it. What has brought you into the excitement of this game?
If this is not Sekiro Part 2, I will cry.
That's that's what you were saying a little bit because you were saying which one disappointed you, thinking that it was gonna be like the Sekiro.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, we talked about a game a little while ago called Rise of the Ronin, and I thought that Rise of the Ronin was going to be kind of the next Sekiro. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game, but for whatever reason, it just didn't hit for me, and it just didn't feel like Sekiro. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this one gives me close to Sekiro vibes, but I'm not anticipating it to be Sekiro 2, but I think it's going to be fairly close, and I think that the elements that this game is going to bring to the table is going to make it I mean, Sekiro's up here. I'm just going to say it. Sekiro's up here. It's untouchable, but I would not be surprised if this one is a very close second.
Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. What about that did not feel like it could have been more like Sekiro? Is it the gameplay, just the overall atmosphere of the game?
Rise of the Ronin, I know people I know people really enjoyed the game, but to me, it just felt very slow. And I don't know if you've ever seen me play Sekiro or if you've ever seen anybody play Sekiro, but it is just absolute madness. It's just nonstop, like barrage of attacks. And this just didn't feel like that. It just felt like very it felt like Arkham, where it's very kind of meticulous and very pre-planned stuff, but not in a good way. I don't know how to make that kind of make sense. Like in Arkham, it makes sense. In this game, it didn't make sense. Like I wanted chaos in this game. You know what I mean?
And with Sekiro, I've watched people play it. Yes, it's fast paced, but it's also very like punishing if you make a mistake. Was that the same thing with Rise of the Ronin, or do you feel like, oh, I made a mistake, it doesn't matter, like I would still be okay?
I made quite a few mistakes, and I did feel like it didn't matter. And again, talking about Sekiro, like it's very chaotic and very fast paced, but it's not a button masher. It is very meticulously crafted to have you like need to be able to perform these functions, and you need to do it fast. You know what I mean? It's not like a button masher kind of thing. It's like you just there's no other way to say it, but like you just need to get good. Like you just need to figure out how to play the game fast, and that's kind of what I was hoping for with Rise of the Ronin, and I just didn't get it. And I'm kind of hoping that like this is going to give me that same feel.
Where the Winds Meet trailer, ready for it?
Pull up the trailer. Let's see what we're looking at. I'm super excited for this game.
Here it is.
All right. So if you guys are just listening, this, of course, takes place in the best setting in video games ever. And we are talking about very early Chinese dynasty. And what we're looking at right now is just like, you know what this really reminds me of? Have you ever seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
I don't think so.
Oh, such a great movie. Add that to your list. But it's like a very kind of it's a very specific genre, and I'm trying to remember what exactly they called it.
Wuxia.
Yes,
Yep.
that. Okay, so it's a very like specific kind of genre of very early Chinese kind of style mixed with like fantasy.
Right.
And you can obviously see that happening in the trailer. So like right now, if you guys are just watching, like, or just listening, the amount of things that we're seeing is just so crazy, and you can tell right off the bat, like this dude, you're fighting this dude on a horse, and it's like all of these gigantic bosses and with the giant snakes coming out right now. And the one that I thought was really cool was the guy that could kind of separate himself into like four different guys. And we're also seeing a lot of different like settings. Like right
Yeah.
now we're in the snow. Like before we were in like a kind of summer like field. Like right now we're in this desolate, just all red location, and I feel like they're just giving us like boss fight after boss
Yeah.
fight after boss fight, and you know that I absolutely love that. And this part right here, where they're like flying through the air, kind
Yeah.
of, and like running around on the trees and like kicking the trees at each other and stuff, is so Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like I'm absolutely in love right now.
It's really cool, and the fact that they're showing it like this, I wonder if there's going to be a lot of verticality, like fight. I don't know if there's going to be a fight specifically like this, but I wonder if there's going to be a lot of like jumping around, and you see it with the boss fights where like he comes down and tries stabbing the boss from really high up. So I think this game's going to have a lot more of that verticality and stuff like that. And do you see the peace sign?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I never noticed that until just now.
Yeah, it was like the yin and the yang right there.
Yeah, and like you
Yeah.
said, Dave. So this it takes place in ancient China using Chinese folklore, or Wuxia, which is just Chinese fiction concerning adventures of martial arts in ancient China. And they say it's like martial arts and chivalry. So that's kind of, yep, that's the main kind of thing about Wuxia. I hope I'm saying that one right. That's another one that I didn't
I'm
quite look up.
so glad. I'm so glad you took that. But yeah,
Okay, you probably
exactly.
knew what it was. You just wanted to make me say it, so you're not the one that gets roasted. But
Guys, it's Wuxia. So I believe it's Wuxia.
yeah,
I feel like you're
Wuxia.
saying it
Oh,
correctly. Yeah.
Wuxia sounds
Is
better.
it Wuxia?
I wonder. Yeah, I don't
Oh
think it's
God.
Wuxia, but that's okay.
We're sorry,
Yeah, I
guys.
should have looked it up. But essentially, Dave, you can dive into this a little bit more. But the whole story behind it is kind of like a real story in terms of like Chinese political stuff. It takes place 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms era, and the way the trailer kind of plays on, and like how you said, there's different settings. I wonder if like each setting is a different kingdom, and like you're trying to take down each of those kingdoms. And I wonder, maybe you're fighting for one of the dynasties that's trying to gain political gain, because essentially that's kind of what it was back in that era. Is there's a bunch of different people fighting for power, and I wonder if this is kind of the story they're going for.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of excited that we took a day off and decided to to redo this because I actually had a great thought that I wanted to bring up here. So, like Adam said, this is going to be set in ancient China's 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms era, and this era takes place from 907 to 979. And in this period, there's like a political upheaval and a bunch of divisions of China. So, ancient China is kind of dividing itself up, and the reason why it's the 5 dynasties and the 10 kingdoms is they've recognized 5 main states, which are the dynasties. So those are kind of like the biggest areas. And then there's also a dozen smaller like subdivisions of China that like haven't really reached that kind of like dynasty status, but they're still recognized as states, aka king. Yeah, independent. So it's like that's where they're getting the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms. And inevitably, what happens is the Song dynasty does end up conquering. But exactly like you said, all these different settings, right, that are kind of split up. And you're maybe experiencing each kind of section, like each dynasty's kind of section of the land. Do you know what this is exactly like? This is Game of Thrones in like ancient China, and in like ancient China. This is like the Game of Thrones. Like you're heading to the north. You know what I mean? Like you're like, and that makes it even more enjoyable for me because I love Game of Thrones. So it's like you take the Game of Thrones idea, you throw it into a game that's kind of like Sekiro, and you put it in the best setting that a game could possibly be in. Like my mind is just explode. I want this game to come out tomorrow.
And I wonder with like, so maybe like the dynasty is like the head bosses, like that's the big boss, and maybe like the kingdoms are like smaller bosses or mini bosses. So that's kind of how I picture it going in terms of like how the game's gonna play. But yeah, in terms of story, I don't know. Like I think it's just gonna, he's trying to help one dynasty rise to power. I'm guessing that's gonna kind of be.
So I did a little bit of a deep dive here, and with this is coming directly from the studio, which is Everstone Studio. They are not very telling on the story, but we do get a little glimpse of what's going to happen. And I apologize, I'm going to look at my notes because I just want to make sure that I kind of nail this here. But if you kind of listen to what they have to say, the way that they describe the game is that you are going to have the opportunity to embrace your destiny, uncover the secrets of your identity, and forge your own path. And I think basically what that is like it's kind of interesting to think that like maybe you don't like you don't know who your main character is. You know what I mean? And to kind of learn who you are along the journey is always kind of a cool idea. So I think it's going to be very interesting. So I think maybe you're a character that has a bigger role in this, 5 dynasties, 10 kingdoms than you might believe in the beginning, and you start to unravel as you're going through your playthrough, exactly who you are and what role you have in this whole thing.
Like, he doesn't really know who he is. He's gonna learn it, and like you said, maybe he's gonna learn that he's got a lot of power or he has a lot of influence more than he thinks he does. That kind of situation.
Yeah, or like like me, and again, we talked about this with the Wuxia. It's a lot like exactly like what Adam said. This is martial arts mixed with chivalry, but it's also known as this merger of ancient Chinese mythology and martial arts with fantasy, and
Hmm.
that's why you're seeing all of these characters, these bosses in the game. That are like throwing fire and they look like beasts and stuff like that. Like so maybe you even have like an kind of otherworldly power, not even so much like a political thing. Like maybe
Right. Okay.
maybe you have something to do with these beasts and stuff too. Like maybe you're not even a human. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm. And you're just figuring out who you are. Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think it's gonna be really, really good. And if you kind of look at the gameplay, there's a lot of things that we've seen in this gameplay. And I think that part is gonna make this not only a game that I'm interested in because I feel like it's a game that you're going to have to get good. Like we said, it's going to be something that you're going to need to learn. And if you guys were just listening, the trailer, you could see the gameplay in the trailer. Very fast paced. It is very fast paced and chaotic. So it's definitely giving me that vibe of things that you need to do. But we also saw a bunch of stuff in the trailer that is very interesting to me. There was that section and I watched maybe a different trailer because from the one that we pulled up, but in the other trailer there was like a bunch of abilities that you could do. So I don't know if you saw you could do like the force ability.
Yeah. So there's a few different. They call them techniques, is what I saw, and there's acupuncture hitting, which I think is like gonna be like a stun and like paralyzed kind of ability. Lion's roar is another one. I don't know. That sounds like a brute force in there. He's gonna kind of rage and just kind of go beat up people, and then merciful.
The lion's roar, there was that section in the trailer where they kind of put that thing to their mouth and they're like, whoa, and then like the sound waves came out and like blew the enemies all out like all
Ah,
over the place.
okay. And then there's merciful picking, which is like maybe stealthy, like stealth kills, and then
I feel like that was the stealth, yeah.
yeah, and then Tai Chi. I'm guessing that's just gonna be like slow, methodical fighting because like Tai Chi is kind of slower with the movement. So I wonder if that's kind of what's gonna be.
And then also, like we said, they have the force. They literally have the force grab where yeah, like she's walking through the town and like she does the force grab and like pulls something off the table. And there's like the ground pound that's kind of like the Hulk. And then there's even a section in the trailer that I watched where it looks like she was running on water for a second.
I didn't see that one, so I wonder if that, like you said, like the ungod or like the out of this world powers that he or she gets as you play.
There's like an extended trailer if you go to their website, and like in that trailer there's so many things that I saw, and it's like she like had this liquid in her mouth and was like spitting fire, and like that section that I saw where she was running on water, like it looks like she was like kind of going after like naval pirate ships and like running on water and then jumped up onto the ship, and I was like, this is insane, all the things that you can do.
And then on top of that, like the combat is gonna have different weapons, like all these kinds of games, but you'll have close quarter combat, which is gonna you can use a spear, or twin blades, broadswords, but also you saw in the trailer the fan, like the umbrella where he opens it up. That's gonna be so cool. Like I wonder how that's gonna work in terms of like I bet if you can open it, you can like spin attack it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be sick, like a katana style or something.
And then there's ranged, so there's bow and arrow. You know me, I love bow and arrows.
I thought you'd be excited about the bow and arrow.
So I'm super excited about that aspect. And then stealth, they're gonna have where you have to like strategize your ambushes of different enemies and stuff. So things I like in games. That's pretty cool. So this might be one I might be interested in, Dave. You might have got me.
And I think there's one thing that not a lot of people are talking about that I think is really cool. If you watch that extended trailer that's on their website, there's sections of and this looks like actual play, but there's sections of the game where it looks like in the gameplay, you have this like kind of ability to slow down time. Did you see that?
I wonder if that has something to do with the Tai Chi like ability or technique. And then like
It might be. There was this timer like you're doing the dodge, and when you do the dodge, like time slow. It was like Max Payne style. Like time kind of slowed down, and you were able to get out of the way. And specifically the shot with the bow and arrow. It's like on that ship, she was jumped. She ran on the water. She jumped up, swinged on the rope, that took her up onto the ship, and then she was like high in the air above the ship, slowed down time with the bow and arrow, and was like pop, 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 pop.
Oh, I wonder if it's gonna be like a Red Dead or like GTA kind of ability. You know what I'm talking about? Where like you activate it and it's like, and you can look at it as you do it. That's kind of cool.
I'm super excited for the game. I don't have too much more on it. Their website has a bunch of stuff. If
Yeah,
you guys want to check it out, it doesn't come out until 2025,
I
so
think
it's
that's
gonna
what
be
we saw. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't come out till 2025. But definitely a game to keep on the radar. I'm super excited for this one.
Couple other things that like I like about the game, and they claim that the game is going to be immersive, but just the way you look at the landscapes and the gameplay that the trailer shows is like it's going to be all over the place in terms of like settings that you see different like there's going to be a city setting, wilderness, caves, canyons, and I think how we talked about this with Assassin's Creed Shadows, like games are start doing realistic physical conditions and like weather and things like that. So they're implementing that in this game, and I think that's really cool. And like we mentioned, like that's where games are going to go, and we already see that with this. And I just think it's a cool looking game. It's not typically my type of game, but the they're bringing me in just of how well they're putting it together and like the boss combination. The boss is like you said, like bringing that fantasy element is really cool. And I really think this would be a good game for a lot of people to play.
I think it's going to be exactly what people are expecting. Like you said, the boss fights are going to be epic. I just have a feeling. I've done a lot of these boss fights, and I can kind of just look at them and be like, yes, this is done well. This is gonna be a challenging fight, or like, this is kind of this is kind of not great. They look amazing. I think there's gonna be some pretty epic boss battles in there. And if you can do the crouching tiger, hidden dragon, where you're running up trees and like you're slicing the tree apart and kicking the tree that you cut off at somebody else, like game of the year.
You're ready for it. You're ready for it. Watch out, GTA 6 2025. Where Winds Meet is going to take you off the stage.
I forgot GTA
Yeah,
6 is coming out in
yeah, so not
2025.
game of the year, but
Not game of the year.
very
Not gonna
close. A
happen.
contender to give GTA a little bit of run for their money, maybe, but
It'll be an honorable mention.
honorable mention.